Hey, 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 welcome to 10 p.m. with Galinsky. I am so glad you're here. It only happens here, remember that, Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern. I got my chat crew in the house. I'm so excited. Let me tell you a little bit about tonight's show. Stephen Henderson is with us. He's in the green room nibbling on, tonight, not baby carrots. Tonight, little stems of broccoli and celery. And it's not a French onion dip. It's a Greek garlic dip. So anyway, he's in the green room. He'll be out in a second. I want to give a couple shout outs to the people and companies that are supporting what I'm doing here. Nuchas empanadas. You can order them online and they are delivered to you and they are so good, so good. Speaking of that, Nuchas and VIPTalentConnect.com donated over a couple hundred really piping hot, delicious empanadas to Mount Sinai Hospital last week. So Nuchas.com, VIPTalentConnect.com. Thank you. ActorTrade.com, an incredible app run by Dylan Mooney. Thanks for the support for the show. Tomorrow night, we got Ron Kuby, the infamous civil rights, human rights lawyer. But right now, we've got Stephen Henderson, and I'm going to bring him in from the green room and get him on our show. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Hey, how you doing, Galinsky?
Good to see you, man. Let's get this started with a quick shout out to our chat room. There's a lot of people in there already ready to go. Tammy T is here.
All right, Tammy T.
Yeah, baby. Turko Ono, Zulima is here. Jack Fuller is here.
Jack.
Great. These are people who have been actually following the show for a few weeks now. Jamie is in the house.
Heather. Hi, Jamie.
Yep. And Patricia Whitcast, one of my great friends, Patricia, in the house.
Hello, Patricia.
Yeah, you're so sweet. All right, so let's go right to something that was pretty amazing and just start off. I like to start off with something that's, positive and interesting in your life. You had the chance to meet a couple that a lot of people would love to meet. And I would love for you to tell us about the experience.
Yeah, that's because I was a part of the cast of A Raisin in the Sun that Kenny Leon did on Broadway, his second production of it with Denzel and a wonderful cast. Just LaTanya and
did the Obamas try to get on stage with you, or were they just chilling?
They did not try to get on stage. They went to Denzel's dressing room. The great thing about this is because they had been to other Broadway shows and never been able to go backstage after the show to say anything to the cast because they had to be whisked away by Secret Service. So they got told that say a lot of people love that you come and see their shows, but you don't meet the cast. So they sent a note back and said, can we come at intermission? Can we come backstage at intermission and meet the cast? And they said, we don't want to upset your process or anything, if you and everybody said, I got no process, you don't worry about that,
Process out the window.
Right, forget the process, baby. So they waited in the Denzel's dressing room and then met us all downstairs. But because I was doing the smallest speaking role in the show, the actors know Raisin in the Sun, I was playing Bobo, and I didn't come in till after the intermission. So they stood, they got it, and we all lined up, and they came down and shook everybody's hand one by one, personally chatted, and so the president came and did that, and he got to me and he looked at me because he hadn't seen me on stage, but I knew he was saying, where do I know him from? Because they screened Lincoln for him first, Spielberg's Lincoln, and I got some time in that, but he was trying to figure it out. And I couldn't say anything to him, man. I was just in such awe of all the people I met over the years, but I couldn't say a word. And he just smiled and went past. But then when the first lady came, she said, I know this play. I know you're coming in. You're going to make it rain, aren't you, man? You're going to make it rain. You bringing the bad news. I said, well, somebody's got to do it. And she gave me a hug, man. She said, because she was so glad that she knew the play that well. So she gave me a hug. And Denzel, everybody, even the president looked over like, what's going on over there? Nobody else got a hug, man. But and so when the picture is taken, you see I'm the closest one to her, because that's when the official photographer, said, and they sent us one from the White House. They sent everybody in the cast their official, photograph. So that was a kick, man.
That's great. A couple new people have joined us. Diane Lieb, Hassan El Ghandi's here.
Hey, Hassan.
Heather Prescott,
Diane.
good evening.
Heather.
Yeah. Jose and Amy Alter here.
Hey, Jose. Mimi.
Callie Greenberg's in the house. Captain Seaman Bill Neems is in the house. We're ready to go. Young actress Elizabeth Harder's in the house. All right, so people know your face. Some of the things they should also know. You've won a Lucille Lortel Award. You've won an Obie for Best Actor. You've won you've been a Tony nominee, a Drama Desk Award. You've been in 5 films that have been nominated for Oscar for Best Picture.
Yeah.
So good, right? You're so good. You're just sharing the wealth with everybody in the cast, huh?
Well, yeah, whatever, man. I take it, baby.
How did you start? Did you is this something you discovered when you were young and knew that it was for you?
Yeah. I started quite young. I was doing talent shows in grade school. I sang 16 tons and oh my God, man. I did, and I used to pantomime songs, the Coaster songs. Me and some other guys, we pantomime Charlie Brown and Poison Ivy and that kind of stuff. And but then I fell in love with poetry. The Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, that was one of the first ones that I just, the story, the message, just the fact that it was beautiful language about being human, just had something to do with that. And so anyway, my first play I did was The Miracle Worker. I played Helen Keller's brother, and my brother was deaf, and my older brother. And so when I got cast in that role, it had a meaning for me, because I didn't grow up with my parents or my other family members. I visited them, but I grew up in a whole other house. So every time something would come along like that. And then I played, I did plays. I just did them. It didn't matter to me what role it was. I just wanted to be in the play, and
did you, did the household that you grew up in support your dreams of being in?
Because Mama Irene, a woman that raised me, her father had been in Black Vaudeville, and so she knew, and actually she introduced me whenever these old timers, because I was born in '49, so I met Georgie Jessel, I met Jimmy Durante, Sophie Tucker. These are people that my mom's, she knew, because they would come and steal material from the Black Vaudeville circuit, because it was but they loved the performance. So I met John Bubbles and Peg Leg Bates. I mean, I was a kid. I'd say met them.
Yeah.
I was a kid. I was around them.
Speaking of people, there's a few people we know. I actually got introduced to you twice. One was on the set. I was an extra in the film Everyday People, the Jim McKay movie.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I was, everybody, just so you know, being 4 feet away, 8 feet away from Stephen while he's working is brilliant, because you just learn just by watching him, watching what you're doing. And then I met you through Shabaka Henley, another shared friend of ours, who's actually going to be on the show Monday, when you did Jitney in New York, which was brilliant. And so this ties into a question we got in the chat here. Because Jitney you hung with for a while. Katha Cato is in the chat. Hi, Katha. And she's the executive director of the Queens World Film Festival. And she says, when do you know, when you are reading a script, that it is something you can give your life to for 6, 7, 8 months, if not years? And you've chosen incredible work. So how do you know? When do you know?
Well, it's difficult to say that you really choose. I've done 2 plays for 6 years. One was a play called The Island by Athol Fugard, and it's the telling of the Antigone story by 2 South African prisoners. And we did that in St. Louis, and then went to Dublin, Ireland, the Dublin Theatre Festival, in 81, and then Chicago and Cleveland and a lot of cities. And so it just keeps going because the work earns you the work. So that role, it was no doubt about it, because I was for the cause. I was for anti-apartheid, and then the other would Jitney, and that was rolling with August, and he was writing as we rolled. I mean,
August Wilson, we're talking.
Yeah, August Wilson, yeah, and that was an incredible experience, and I was playing this character Turnbow, and August would just be writing stuff, man, because.
So was he rewriting every night, every week?
Well, not every night, every week. But each engagement.
I see.
He took the opportunity in rehearsal.
Gotcha.
To and that's such a long story. But we did, and he finally stopped writing one day when we got to Los Angeles before we came to New York. But we did that for 6 years, 14 venues, 6 years, and he won the Olivier Award in London for best play that year.
I was in New Haven for a couple of years, and he was working with Lloyd Richards in New Haven while I was there.
The great Lloyd Richards. You said I have to say the great Lloyd Richards.
Great Lloyd Richards. And his technique was, one of his techniques is, I was a bartender. He'd come into the bar that I was bartending, and August Wilson would sit there for hours on end, sipping his bourbon. You probably know the brand. And writing on cocktail napkins, writing his ideas, his thoughts, and a couple times, we had a little rapport going. I was his bartender, and it was like taking a little mini master class with him from time to time. When I could tell that he was into conversation, we would talk, and he was always talking about listening and fragments and how they grow. Speaking of
he would bounce things off of people all the time,
Speaking of how things grow, the mighty Oak, J.O. Sanders, is in our chat room now. He's watching.
Cleveland in the house.
Cleveland in the house.
Yeah.
Which means Marianne is probably watching. By the way.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Marianne, if you are watching, I caught Stephen earlier today watching your episode of this show.
I sure was. And she is so dear to come and see Dallas House Part 2. And but you got this is a classy act, man. I had to come here, baby.
Thank you. Ron Cephas Jones, the great poet, just joined us, and
oh my goodness, my brother Ron.
Oh, Ron, all right. And then Gary Hede, Heyde. He said,
Gary Heide.
He said, "Hey Stephen, it's Gary Heide."
Yeah, man. Yeah, he and I we did some time together. Yeah.
Cool.
When I say did some time together, I ain't talking about in the joint. I mean theater time.
Terry Schnook, who I mentioned to you earlier from Schnook's Groceries, and you've got a St. Louis connection.
Yeah. Because the Loretto Hilton Repertory Company, and I'm sure he probably remembered before it became the St. Louis Rep. It was Loretto Hilton Repertory, founded by the Sisters of Loretto and Conrad Hilton. That was in Webster Groves, Missouri.
Terry's a good friend and a great Broadway producer. You've studied in London, New York. You got your master's from Purdue. How important do you think training is? There's always a debate.
Well, I didn't know it was until I got some good training. I was doing plays from very young, but I had some wonderful people. The only reason that there's a thing called Black theater is because there was a thing called segregation. And so I learned my first technique, and I got it from some incredible African-American artists who reached the ceiling out in Kansas City, and they were passing it on. But then I got a chance to go to the Juilliard School. I was in the first class, Group 1 of Juilliard, and then I started realizing that technique was not a dirty word. It's a precision that you add to your passion. And that's the thing about training. You've got to add precision to your passion. You may come with all the passion, but you do have to develop some precision to that passion.
It's a great phrase. Is it a phrase you've had before, or is it something you live by?
Oh yeah, man. I've 30 years I taught at SUNY Buffalo. Yeah. So I had to come up with my own stuff.
All right. Turco Ono in the chat says, "Is there a character you would love to play if you could wave a magic wand?"
something that a writer is writing today, tonight, she or he is writing something somewhere that is probably the role that I would really, really love to be doing.
Cool. You won the Woody King Jr. Lifetime Award, and he was actually there at the time. What was that?
Yeah, that was a St. Louis black rep that gave me it, and for Woody well, you know, he's living legend, you know, and he came all across this country. He reached people in every quarter of the country, and I was out in Kansas City, Kansas. See, I'm talking about, you know, around the wheat, man. I was out there all the way, you know what I mean?
Well,
and, but he brought the word. He spread the word all across his country.
Speaking of legends,
and I married Baraka too. I must say, I married Mama Baraka, who was a very important mentor of mine.
I've done a lot of spoken word in the 90s on stages where Amiri was kicking it here in New York. Powerful. So you're mentioning legends. You are a legend. Now, you know, probably like, oh no, Galinsky, no. But you're carrying a torch.
That just means I'm old, man.
Well, it's one of the qualities of it.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'm glad to be old.
What's it feel like, or do you have that sense that you, as a, you know, and if I put my racial lenses on as a black actor, what you carry and what you are, what you represent while you do the work, and how important that is? How important is that to you?
Well, you know, see, when you told me that Ron Cephas Jones was in the house a minute ago, it's the people who acknowledge that you've been on the path and that you have something to offer. It's the other people that's what really makes you feel that you know you got something happening, and you know, you think of yourself as an actor because you already came with the African American part, man. You got that. Yeah. That's you know. And if you ever lose that, shame on you. But the craft, and that's the other thing I say to the young people: the career you seek may elude you, but the craft you seek is in your hands. You can go and train. A painter, all it needs is canvas paint and a sunrise. And so every day you can get better at your craft. Now, the career you seek may elude you for 40 years. It happened to me. I can tell you straight out. But it didn't elude me because every play I did in Kansas City, St. Louis, Omaha, Denver, everywhere, you know, that was what I loved to do. And it just led me all the way to where I am. So, you know.
The career you seek may elude you, but the craft
you seek is in your hands. Yeah.
I mean, that's another great thing to remember. Turko Ono asked you the question about what's the magic wand role, and you said whoever is writing it tonight. He said, great answer.
Well, and I've had some magic wand roles, but I don't know what the next one could be, you know.
And then Katha Cato, Queens World Film Festival, says, add precision to your passion. I can now stop listening to everything else that would ever be said. I've heard that. And I agree with her. But then she chimed in minutes later, and then you go and say the next best thing ever said. I can't keep up with it. J.O. Sanders says, Stephen Brother, rockin' Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, man.
And
yeah,
an actor in the group just said, yeah, Zulema, that's me. I have to find a way to refine it and express it. So let's stay on the acting tip thing. And I'm putting you on the spot because I didn't ask you this at all when we did a little pre-interview earlier. Can you give us a couple of real tips on emotional preparation? I'm going to give you 3 categories: emotional preparation, cold readings, and then character development. So any quick tips on emotional preparations or what you can expound upon with that?
Well, you know, that's all this stuff is like, I may have some words to say, but nothing is substitute from being in the room, tackling the problems in the text. You got to tackle it. You know, you got to get in there because it's like prego or ragu. It's in there, man. It's the you know, the garlic and the onions and the green pepper and it's all that stuff's in there, and it's in you. And now you got to figure out how to appropriately use those parts of yourself for what is right for this particular role in this particular moment. And it's something you do with others. It's not something that you work on, you know, all inside yourself. You know, I'm going through all this internal, this and that. Yeah, but that other person, if you can't touch them and they can't touch you, neither one of you can touch the audience. So all this emotion comes from contact. It comes from you contacting the text and the other artist contacting the text and you all contacting each other. And if you get pinched, you're gonna ouch. And that's what the Sanford Meisner thing, you know, it's the pinch ouch is what Bill Esper taught about. But I don't know any quick little,
yeah.
You gotta go in there and mine that text. And the other thing I was saying, I do say this quite often, don't try to get it right. Try to get it true. Don't get it right. Don't go in your head thinking, is this the right way to do this, the wrong way? Get it true and allow yourself to be touched. And the other person, you know, has got to let you touch them.
Beautiful. Again, you're topping yourself. It's pretty hard to do. Let's look at some pictures. We queued up a few photographs. Let's see where the photographs take us in our conversation. Let's go. I'm going to go backwards for a second here. Here we go. So Fences on Broadway with Denzel.
Yeah, Denzel, Michael T, Javon, man. Yeah, great stuff.
And
it's something to go out on stage at the top of a show with this cat here, Denzel Washington, and then have Viola Davis come out on the porch.
Nice.
Say, what y'all up to? You know what I'm saying, man? That's, yeah, man. Yeah.
That's the film version, correct?
And that's the streets of Pittsburgh to be able, because I met August in Pittsburgh and, you know, I hung with him different places that are in his plays, the Crawford Grill and the Eddie's Restaurant and all that. And then to be down there filming in the neighborhood and have family members of August, as Denzel tried to introduce the cast to the family, and they said, oh man, you can't introduce me to Steve, man. We know Steve from back. So to be at home in his home for that little bit, that's one of the special things in my life there, man.
Great. We saw the Obamas, some red carpet at Amazon. What do we got here?
That's the church lady there, man. That's Eliza Colonzes. That's the church lady. There's Elizabeth. Oh, man. Ron Cephas is laughing and smiling now. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what's this production? Which one is this?
Between Riverside and Crazy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's Between Riverside and Crazy.
It's so magical to be under, once the curtain's drawn, the audience is quiet, the lights come up, and you're in that bubble. What's that like for you? I know it's just a dream for me.
You know, man, I tell you, this particular play, that room right there is in the playwright's house. So, you know, he lives on Riverside Drive. So this particular play was really quite something. And the things that you have to mind in his plays, he's like, I mean, he's just such a great playwright. Stephen Adler Gerges is just one of the greatest. And to do that with his people, like he's got a company of his people, like Ron and, you know, and Elizabeth. And so, and I got to say, man, I know you'd say, man, don't make no long, but I got to say, you got to understand that Philip Seymour Hoffman was a heart inside the life of this theater company, the Labyrinth Theater Company.
Yeah.
And we did The Last Days of Judas Iscariot that he directed when I first met this family of actors. And so it's just, there's a closeness, an ensemble of family to that company that batteries are included. You
must know Mums then, correct?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, no Mums. Yeah, he, you know, because hey, wait a minute, he was in Everyday People, remember?
Yeah. Well, that was back in the day when Mums and I were doing a ton of spoken word all over the city.
Yeah.
Great poet. So this is, what award is this again?
It's my favorite award that exists. It's called the Virtuoso Award at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. And it's like, you know, 6 to 8 people during the award season before the Oscars that are called there to receive an award for, I think it's supporting actor performances, and everybody gets one. So nobody's in competition. Everybody gets an award and gets interviewed, and it's a really sweet thing. Santa Barbara International Film Festival Virtuoso Awards.
Yep. And this here, what do we look? Is that your Make America Great hat? Make America Great Again hat? Is that what you're wearing?
No. If you look close at that hat, it says King Hedley II. Okay. That's August Wilson. Now that is Indira Etwaru, who is the artistic director of the Billie Holiday Theater and the Bedford-Stuyvesant Restoration Project, and of course the great Ruben Santiago Hudson, and August there in the back. And we recorded the audio recordings of all 10 plays at the Green Space for New York Public Radio. And that was the artistic team that put that together. Ruben was the artistic director. I was his associate artistic director, and she produced it.
Go. We got some action in the chat room. I got to throw us back in there for a minute. LaShonda Morgan just showed up.
Okay.
Winnie Maria just showed up. Winnie's a wonderful actress and singer. Callie Greenberg has a question. What advice, ideas, crafts, as you said, would you give for aspiring actors and actresses during this pause? And this pause being this downtime here with productions.
Okay. Well, I would say definitely read, and make all that list of the things that you always said, that people keep bringing up, and you say, I've got to get to that. And if you can, work somehow with someone else, even if it's virtually, but pinch outs back and forth, share text, share language, share words with folks. And the other thing is, if you can always be aware of the oldest person in the family and the youngest person in the family. There was a time that it was very important to be in the room when the eldest member of the family held the newest born person. So get at your family albums, share, make sure that you see where your, ancestry, your connection to others, that whole family connection, because you bring all that to your work. So there's a lot of, life work, because you got to have a life to bring it to the theater. You got to have a life.
It sounds like good advice that we also got last night from indie filmmaker Larry Fessenden on the show. Larry was talking about collaborations and staying connected.
Yeah.
Very much the same. J.O. Sanders said this a few minutes ago when you were talking. One of the greats, meaning you. Marianne and I watch any and everything this man does. Totally right. Got to be there and smell the magic, talking and listening. Yeah, baby. Jack Fuller says, you're a legend with wisdom. What's your sense of where film, movie, stage, etc. is going, considering the circumstances of today's world? And by the way, before you answer that, it's 10:30. The show is officially over. You want to do a little overtime? If the chatters throw some thumbs up, we're good. You good for a few more minutes?
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we'll do.
It's all going home, man. It's all going where it came from. If we, however long it takes for us to be safe inside a theater, the theater will sprout and grow. And storytelling is where it really started. So people are always going to be doing those podium shows, when they can do online. But it's like the theater is a language art and film was an image art. And when those two things came together, because film started silently, see, and so images were very crucially important. And theater was a language art. So it started with poetry. It started with the word. In fact, it started trying to tell people who couldn't read the books of the Bible and all that kind of stuff, So, it's going to go where it came from. Now, how we do it. What we're going to have to do, there's going to be, intimacy is going to take a hit. People are saying, well, people are going to be reluctant to start sharing spit and all that stuff, man, doing all the love scene. But that's going to take us back to story. And the thing that I most beweep is that small theaters may take hit, and not be able to bounce back, but another will grow in its place. But we've got to have revolutionary optimism. I would say what Amiri Baraka told me. You've got to have revolutionary optimism. And it is revolutionary to be optimistic. That's a revolutionary act. And we must have it, and we must pass it on to the young folk. So, what you don't have, grow it.
Right on. All right. Right on. Let's go to 5 objects. So I'm going to show you 5 objects. You haven't seen them yet. And you're just going to give me a gut reaction. And this is based on the fact that I've been sitting in my house for 2 months like everyone else going, I still have that thing, and what am I doing with that thing, and whatnot. So here's the first one.
Oh wow, man! Yeah, that's one of the most popular instruments in the world. I mean, it goes everywhere. It's been on covered wagons. It's been on boats. It's been that's the gift fiddle, man. That's it.
All right, here's our second object. Cheese grater.
Yeah. Watch your knuckles. Just get the cheese, baby. Just get the cheese. Watch your knuckles.
Precision and practice.
There you go, baby. Passion, precision, and passion.
All right, a ruler. An old wooden ruler.
Yeah, well, okay. Unfortunately, that brings up discipline to me because I was born in 49, so that ruler ruled. Yeah, boy, it ruled, man. It did.
All right. That's 1, 2, 3. Here's number 4. Light bulb.
Oh, absolutely wonderful.
Just the joy of the light bulb. Okay, I got you.
Yes.
Final one. You ready?
Uh-huh.
A tomato. Pretty damn big one, too.
Oh, yeah, and it's shaped like, you had it, the first angle you showed it to me was like a heart, man. Yep. That's a lovingly grown tomato.
All right. So I asked you to bring one object. I haven't seen it yet. What do you got? Okay,
now I'm gonna tell you now. This is a positive thing. I don't want you to go no negative place with it. But like I told you, I've been moving. My wife and I are moving from one house to the other. That's why I don't have a whole lot. Sure. But one of the first things that I made sure that I took personally, this is one of these little things, and this is my dear departed sister. Some of her ashes are inside here. Whenever I go somewhere really, whenever I go somewhere really swanky, and I've been lately I've been to some spots where you got to wear tux and this and that, and I always take my sister Kathy with me because I know that she would have dug seeing me get to this part.
That's beautiful.
Because she wasn't around all the time to see me get to this part. She saw me do the paying the dues part. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So whenever I go somewhere special and hang with heavy people, I take this. And now I knew I was coming here when I say I was going to be on the Galinsky thing. And you got J.O. and Ron Cephas and all them people out there. So I said, I brought Kathy with me, man, my sister.
That makes me feel, looking at that and your story just makes me feel closer to you and more love and trust. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Going into the chat for some final questions here. Let's see here. James Turco. All right, Turco Ono, what drew you to teaching? What do you love most about teaching?
It took me a while to get to it. The thing that drew me to teaching was great teachers, first of all. But I was working regional theater in that, and I was kind of content to be out there on the road. But when my son was born, I started missing stuff, man. I missed the first time he got a haircut. My father-in-law said, hey, man, he sat right up. He didn't cry. The other kids were crying. And then he said, man, I think I'm ready to get him a bicycle because I was on the road, And I said, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm coming home.
I got to do that.
So I had to come back and be around for my son because, as I say, I didn't grow up with my parents. And then I realized, well, I would have liked to have. I mean, people that I grew up. So anyhow, I came home and it was the best thing I could do, and to pay it forward, you know, because I had great teachers. And so I found a teaching job. I was looking for a teaching job in Chicago, but I found one in Buffalo, and at the university here, and it was the right place to be. And I got to a place when my son asked me, he said, "Dad, when you gonna get back out there? He's grown now. He up in high school. When you gonna get out there with Uncle Johnny?" I got a dear friend named John Cochran Jr., and he was in Boys in the Hood. And when Jamal saw that, he said, "Dad, that's Uncle Johnny in Boys in the Hood. When you gonna get out there?" You know. And so I knew it was time for me to get on back out there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very, very proud of that kid. By the way, he is president of Spring Hill Productions, which is a production company that LeBron James and Maverick Carter have out in Los Angeles and that. So I'm very proud of Jamal Henderson.
The apple did not fall far. Vincent Gottschalk is a wonderful improviser and actor. He's in the chat. What was the greatest villain you played, and what was the greatest hero?
Wow. Well, you know, you never think of him as either while you're playing. I mean, the character, you know, because you justify your behavior. So I had to do whatever they thought the villain was doing, you know, because I had a human need to do it. But I guess in terms of playing Turnbow, in its way, I got hissed by the audience. I had a situation after the show where older women would come up to me and hit me with their purse and say, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself." And the next thing they would say is, "Will you take a picture with me?"
That's great.
So now the other is Maish. I played Maish in Requiem for a Heavyweight, toured the prisons of North Carolina. And that was with Tommy Hulse. Tommy Hulse played Army. I played the Gleason role. Tommy Hulse played the Mickey Rooney role. And we toured all the prisons in North Carolina one Christmas when we were going to North Carolina School of the Arts. And we went to and ate in the mess hall. And it was a group of prisoners that were kind of gathered together and pointing at me, because I do a pretty terrible thing Maish does to the guy that plays Mountain. And they came over to me. I was kind of scared, man, because it looked like they were like pissed to the highest pisticity. But what they said was, "Man, we sure did enjoy hating your ass." And so I think Maish and Turnbow in terms of that side of the coin. Gotcha. But heroes, that's a hard one for me to say, because it's like we're in a time right now where such great heroes. I mean, we have medical martyrs. You know, people talk about martyrs in the old days, and they're talking about Christian martyr or religious martyrs. But our martyrs are medical people today. We got medical martyrs. We got truck driver martyrs. Yeah. We got grocery martyrs. Man, we got people who have died, who have really given themselves. So I kind of think that the everyday people, when you talk about them, the everyday man, that's some great heroes, man. You know, people who do raise that family and take that stuff, you know, and do the best they can with what they have. So I've played a few of those kinds of people, and you know, I haven't played a lot of the other kind, you know.
Yeah. Diane Lieb has a question. When you're playing a role, do you become that character off as well as on the stage for the duration? Does that character live on inside you after the run ends? A few questions. Because part of who you are, or do you walk away to begin again?
Yeah, I'm always using a part of myself to play the character. So, but I can't say that I become. I have spent a little time in the Western Missouri Mental Health Center, so I know if you don't know who you are, you know you're doing it wrong. I ain't come off when the curtain comes down, it's me taking the bow. Okay, it's the actor, and it's not. It's me saying you're welcome. I always tell the actors that applause they're saying thank you, And when you bow, you say, "You're welcome. We did it all for you."
Sure.
So I understand in a sense that the play's the thing. I don't, the message, the thing that I'm trying to impart, I try to be professional about that. And now there are roles that hold on to you, cling to you. When I talk about during the time doing the South African stuff, doing Fugaz plays, doing the island, because we were raising money for political prisoners sometimes, and worked with the great Studs Terkel in Chicago, who was one of our sponsors to raise money. So, and the issue was really alive at that time, and Mandela was still on Robben Island. And so there were times that it's tough. It's like today, when we did Between Riverside and Crazy, the brothers and sisters dying at the hands of policemen, and just the other day. I mean, it's right now.
Yeah, I know.
Right now. So what I'm saying is, the issue hangs, the issue, but I try to be as professional as I possibly can in terms of being very much into it, completely into it, from lights up to lights down. And I try to take that off with the makeup and the clothes and stuff to go out and breathe and be. That's my effort.
Got you.
That's my effort.
We got more questions. And by the way, Michael Fomkin just joined us, who's the president of VIP Talent Connect, and has been, during this pandemic, has just been doing an amazing job of engaging young actors and getting them coaches and speakers to meet and talk with. It's been incredible. Destiny Gay says, and we're coming close to the end of our time here, do you think getting to virtually meet with agents, directors, et cetera, puts us at an advantage more versus having to go out and make these connections? So I'm guessing maybe she's talking about now while virtual meetings are happening.
There's a great possibility that it is, because they are really, focused and personal. There's a great possibility that it could be. There are things that I think of that you young people are experiencing that is so different from the world that I know, that I want to be able to give you some advice, but at the same time I want to make sure that you know that you're going into territory that none of us know well. It's a fingerprint. It's your DNA. It's and you have a journey and a path to take and footprints to leave that are absolutely and entirely your own. And it's very personal. It's a personal art form. It's communal in that you work with other people, but it's very personal in that you are using yourself. That's your instrument. You are your instrument, and you're basically a professional human being,
Great. J.O. Sanders chiming in. And by the way, people are constantly adding comments. That's beautiful. That's deep. Thank you. Great question. Great answer. Lauren Herman just joined us. Jay says, hello also to my little brother, Ron Cephas Jones. Scooter Milvey is in the house. He said he watched Lady Bird this week with his 15-year-old daughter, Grace, and they loved it, especially Father L.
Thank you, brother.
Dylan Mooney from Actor Trade is here. And I was telling you, and you were talking about collaborating and connecting with people now, and reading. This is the perfect time, and that's one of the perfect tools to get this done. Dylan says, Stephen, you're an incredible actor. I wish I could have gotten here earlier. Bill Neem says, what a beautiful person. Your head's gonna get bigger than it already is after this. So we're gonna wrap up. People, just say your goodbyes right now. Couple of quick questions to just finish up. I want to know is, how has this quarantine upended your thinking? Has it changed it in any significant way? Is there a new normal for you coming? Is there an old normal that you're going to leave in the past?
Well, this experience right here, I got to tell you, at age 70, I've been reflecting, and just realizing just how blessed and fortunate I am. And then at the same time that I do that, the survivor guilt comes in, and I realize that there are other people who aren't doing as you know, as well. And so it really does make you examine the value of your choices, you know. And there's a new appreciation for everyone and everybody for me. There really is. And I'm having to hug people with my eyes, because, you know, I can't hug them. And it's that outwardly directed energy from the eyes to just look. And when you say the names, you say all the people who have checked into this, all that energy is, you know, we mean a lot to each other, and we gotta remember the value of that. Because I have to say this. I mean, I know, you know, but I, you know, I have to say what I got to say. Yeah. I don't have to have my way, but I have to have my say. And we got great leadership in some state houses. We don't have a lot of great leadership in the White House, but we got a lot of great leadership in state houses in California and New York and all across. And so we just gotta claim what we want to be the heart and soul of our country and our craft. We gotta just claim it, man. We gotta claim it. We gotta have it.
You are like, you're firing me up, man. It's like, you feel like, to me, like right now you're the coach talking about getting in the game and doing your best. And the game is life, right? No matter, and right now it's the fourth quarter, or it's a tough series. It's tough. You're down by a number of points, whatever, and just get into it and go. I really appreciate that. I really do. We have one more last question, and that's from Dylan Mooney of Actor Trade. But before, Kathy Cato from Queens says, hugging you with my eyes. I guess you just nailed another gem for her. Dylan Mooney, this is like probably the most important question of the night. So take this, Stephen. You just brace yourself here. Why in the heck didn't you let them out of the floating elevator in the last episode of Dev?
Yeah, okay. All right. Now, you know, it's because when I turned that page, Alex Garland said, you don't let them out of there. That's why. Okay.
Thank you for being with us, brother. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and you just giving your time. And this is a volume of 50 minutes of incredible inspiration. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing.
Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing, Galinsky.
Welcome, brother.
All right.
See you soon, Stephen.
Peace.
All right. Peace.